ain't about the color of my skin.
You need to move away from my lily white pumps.
It's about being true to the game of basketball.
It's unnecessary to have all this razzle-dazzle on our courts, and that's what the Negro players will do.
But every time we step on this court, it means something.
Cary, Jeff in Las Vegas. Good morning.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. This is the first time we've ever spoke. I've been a critic for 25 years, and I'm a big fan of yours, and this is a total...
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that.
Well, congratulations on Sweetwater, man. It made me laugh, made me cry, made me angry.
Yeah.
The
Great.
whole gambit of emotions here. So congratulations.
Great.
Wonderful film. Just fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
History is finally shedding light on Nat Sweetwater Clifton. Can you tell us about him and his incredible story?
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic that we all know about Jackie Robinson and other people in professional sports who crossed the color barrier. But the fact that Sweetwater is virtually unknown and was unknown to myself and to most of the cast on this movie, including Everett, is to me an extraordinary thing. I had the privilege of interviewing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar before I started the picture, and he asked me what I was working on. I said, I'm doing this film about Sweetwater. He said, oh, well, Cary, that's the most important film you're going to make. I said, why is that, Kareem? And he said, well, I wouldn't exist without Sweetwater, and neither would, Magic Johnson or Jordan or Kobe or LeBron. None of us. We all stand on this man's shoulders. And it struck me that this man, Sweetwater Clifton, is revered among the giants in basketball, and yet is virtually unknown elsewhere, which is a shame. So here we are. Better late than never. Yeah.
Getting his due in history where it's well deserved. Absolutely. And, it was a different time, the 1950s, the prejudice. And while I was watching this film, it's hard to think that those attitudes existed, that you couldn't go into bars and restaurants and bathrooms. But it took one person to be the pioneer, and no matter where in society. And that's what I was just so incredibly admire Sweetwater for doing. But as an actor, when you were doing this movie, were there times where you thought, wow, I can't, you're like you were back in that time and thought how those attitudes existed, and it was just kind of unnerving?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, these guys were all operating out of fear, There were ridiculous, archaic regulations and rules within the league about who could play and who couldn't. And there's even one of the characters talks about there being a gentleman's agreement, whatever that is, that African Americans can't play in NBA. And it's absurd when you look at it today, where you think that most professional sports are dominated by African Americans, yeah. And this was a time where they weren't even allowed to be seen sharing a court with white people. I just find that phenomenal. I just think it makes no sense to me. But that was the time, and that's how people felt back then. And so we wanted to shed a light on that so people can realize just how absurd it was.
Absolutely. And also in Sweetwater's career here, tell us about Ned Irish. Where does Ned fit in all this? Your character.
Yeah, Ned. I love playing Ned. I from the research I got from interviews with his contemporaries and colleagues and friends, and even a few detractors, that he was this kind of guy who loved sports. He loved basketball, and he loved making money. I think the color he was fascinated in more than anything to begin with was green. Yeah. And so he was torn about Sweetwater. His friends say that he had this very tough exterior, but he was a big softy at heart. So I kind of latched onto that. He was torn with Sweetwater because he understood that he was bound by these absurd regulations that I mentioned, and yet he understood that Sweetwater was going to change the game. And so I think he, in the end, with the help of his coach Lapchek, that he realized that he wanted to be on the right side of history. And yeah.
And tell me about the family's reaction. Were they on board with this project? Were they supportive of telling Sweetwater's story?
Yeah, very. I mean, Everett, as you know, is remarkable in this film. We were so
Fantastic. Yeah.
lucky to find him. He's a remarkable talent. And to find an actor who is that talented, who can also play basketball as well as Everett does, for us, it's the movie. Without him, there'd be nothing. And so he's so wonderful in the role. And so we were so grateful to get him because, like I said, without him, we wouldn't have a film. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also tell me about the attention to detail in this movie is amazing because anytime it's a period film, I'm always looking
Yeah.
for mistakes or something like that.
Yeah.
You were back in the 1950s, and for an actor,
Yeah.
isn't that the best way to get into character that you step on a set or everyone's in
Oh,
costume?
it's great. You know, the shoes even help. I'll tell you that. I'll never forget. I was making a movie with Tim Robbins here in Manhattan many years ago. There was another period movie set in the 30s. And during rehearsals, Tim said to us, you know, you guys need to all take your sneakers off and put on hard shoes. And we were like, what? Why? He goes, because I can tell you it'll make you feel different and act differently if you're starting to feel the period rather than in your soft loafers that you're wearing. And he was right. You know, the costume is important. And we were very fortunate. We had amazing department heads on every level, whether it was costume or set design or props or anything. So, you know, to walk onto a set where you feel you're stepping back in time is an enormously wonderful thing for an actor. It's very helpful. Yeah.
Well, Cary, congratulations on Sweetwater. The humanity of this film is overwhelming, and thank you for your time
Thank you,
today.
Chad.
Oh, I just, it's such a thrill to speak to you, and especially for a movie like this. So, thank you so much for your time, and let's talk again soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you.